Have you heard this one about the former drug addict who will not be appearing and making a concert or doing a concert during the Republican National Convention? He feels he was lied to by the Republican Party. First of all, the guy gets invited to do a concert in Cleveland simultaneously as the GOP convention is going on. Concert to benefit veterans, and now he says, well, I didn't know it was about the Republican Party, and they're mean, mean, mean. Joe Walsh says he does not want Republicans apparently to buy his records any longer. Well, most of his work was done with other bands when he came in and he picked up the slack or filled in for someone else, and they had to prop him up on stage because he was either too loaded or too high to perform. He's been clean and sober for many, many years. I suppose if they paid him in kilos, though, he might still come and do it. This is the story about it from Fox News this morning.
Rocker Joe Walsh, who honed his guitar skills in Northern Ohio, is pulling out of a kickoff concert for the GOP convention in Cleveland. Walsh says he thought the concert, scheduled for the opening day of the convention, was a benefit for veterans' families. He now says he can't take part because of what he called the fear-mongering and bullying from the Republican campaigns. Walsh apologizes to his fans and says he'll look to do a veterans-related benefit concert later in the year. Jack Callahan, Fox News.
Of course, now liberals would never bully anybody, unlike that preacher down in Georgia that we mentioned earlier who got bullied because he believed in the Bible. And they'd never bully people on the environment, would they? Well, actually, this comes from the Federalist. Bill Nye epitomizes the left's authority complex. A writer says, feminist journalist Jill Filipovic recently made a hilariously unself-aware comment on Twitter. She said, one advantage the left has over the right is we don't value bowing to authority, but I see a kind of messiah worship in Sanders supporters. The writer says, I wonder, was she around when Obama was running in 2008? Nothing about Bernie's messiah complex should be remotely new to you if you followed the Obama phenomenon. The left still clings to this old view of themselves as bold freethinkers who question authority. By coincidence, he says, I came across this at about the same time as a video of Bill Nye, the supposed science guy, taking a break from asking big and important questions like, what if the Earth were a cube instead of a ball, and declaring that maybe global warming skeptics should be thrown in jail. And, but yeah, we don't bow to authority. No. And we would never force anyone to disavow their Christian faith. And we would never force anyone to share the potty with a man who thinks he's a woman. And we would, no. And we would never put anyone in jail because they don't believe in global warming. Nye isn't just speculating, the writer says, about putting people in jail. He is referring to a specific attempt to use the model of those old tobacco lawsuits to prosecute any company that has ever funded research or advocacy skeptical of claims about global warming. Now, a friend of mine is a scientist. In fact, he does the same thing that one of our local scientists who appears on the program with us on a monthly basis does, but he does it at a planetarium in Kentucky. And he told me, he said, Nye isn't even a scientist. What? No. And he's supposedly trotted out as a scientific expert on television all the time? That'd be like bringing me in and having me sit down and talk about particle beams and the like. I've just beamed one into your head. You are now a conservative. 947, you're up next. You're on the air on KLIX.
Morning, Bill. I love all these liberals using their ability to discriminate against people who are discriminating against people. They're mad that some people don't want so-called transgenders in the bathroom, so they're going to deny business with people who are going to deny business with other people. It's just a big they're doing the exact same thing that a business is trying to do, protects other people's rights. So they're going to have to discriminate against one group, and so then the liberals are going to discriminate against others in return, and it's a beautiful process.
What are we going to have to do? Are we going to have to spend the money to build a third set of bathrooms everywhere, public bathrooms, so that the call it Perverts for Privy program? And
personally, I don't care what bathroom people use. However, where do you draw the line? And that's where it always goes to. Is then what's the next step? And what's the next step? You know, if I identify today as a police officer and I go out and arrest somebody, and I'm not a police officer because I don't have the proper training, credentials, and that badge, that's illegal. But if I don't have the proper unit to use a certain bathroom, that's okay. And so where do we draw the line, Bill?
That's a good question. Thank you for the call. Last summer I was out driving in the South Hills, and I suddenly had a nature call, and I looked around and realized there didn't seem to be anybody around for miles, so I got out and I relieved myself. Boy, I'm glad the EPA wasn't there, because you never know what I was eating and what might be in that stream, but I did it. If someone had caught me, I guess I could have just claimed I was my cat and that, I could get down and start scraping the sand back over the pile. You're up next. You're on the air on KLIX with Bill Colley on Top Story. Go ahead.
Hang on a second, Bill. You got me laughing. Hey, by the way, on this what topic you're talking about here, Target. We got one of those stores right here in Twin. They're going to allow it in their restrooms now.
That's what I hear.
So we need to boycott them. We need to make a stand.
Well, I've been boycotting Target for years because there's nothing there that I want.
Exactly. Me too. Okay. Hey, thanks, Bill.
Thank you very much for the telephone call. It's Target was the nickname one of my former coworkers gave it. He said, it's sort of the snobs version of Walmart, except they don't have anywhere near the selection. You're next. You're on the air on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.
I have quite a few grandchildren, and most of them are girls. And I'm telling you, these children don't even get a chance to be children anymore because they have to be confronted with all this. And these LGBT people are shoving this in our face. And for whatever the reason, they're getting the kind of attention they think they want. Because I think, without it, they just don't feel quite right, whatever the reason. But you see, when these children aren't allowed to be children anymore, I'm just so sick of it because it's just so damaging to their psyche. And I don't know, Bill, I don't know what the hell. Again, we just have to do something. Every day I call in, I don't know that I don't have any delusions about the fact that I am changing anything, but at least it's therapeutic for me, and I'll hang up. Thanks.
Yeah, that and we all need that sort of cathartic experience of getting it off our chests. This whole notion of having the grown men come in and squat next to your 3-year-old granddaughter or daughter in the ladies' room, it's just a step away. It's not far away, but it's coming. And once more, I've mentioned this. This has happened in history at previous times. You start with something like this, and then a week from now, or a year from now, or soon in the near future, bring them out so we may know them. That's the next step in all of this. I'm telling you right now, this is the effort because, I like small children. It makes me feel good, and I self-actualize, so therefore I should be. There are some whack jobs in England already teaching on college campuses who say that we should remove all of these laws about sex with underage children, even though many of them may not consent. Some of these whack jobs are teaching other people and telling them that this is just a natural progression. In a way, it's probably a good thing that they're going to have Islamic justice and eventually take care of the idiots who are preaching those sorts of things to young people. 9:52. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 58 right now. I'd like to mention this hot day today is going to remind you that you'd like to be outside if you're not already outside enjoying it, and if you'd like to be outside more but you don't want to deal with all of the insects and sometimes with all of the sand and things blowing in the air, think about a sunroom where you can actually close some windows but still get all of that sunshine and enjoy a really beautiful day. We've been recommending Dream Room Design. Go to the website, dreamroomdesign.com, and you can see testimonials there, as well as some of the custom work they do. They can build around an existing porch, deck, or patio, and they can use a mix of metals and glass or just all glass. You can have windows that open and close. All of these things are really up to you. Again, though, to do this, you have to go to dreamroomdesign.com, take a look at what you can see there, envision in your head what you want, and then get in touch with Bill Conant through the website at dreamroomdesign.com. He's the founder of the business, and he'll come out and he'll give you an estimate, and they'll get to work on that project for you, and you can have a more enjoyable summer. We have a telephone caller with us. You're up next at 9:53, and go ahead.
Well, the first time that the LGBT, whatever it is ever mentioned was in Genesis, when Lot was in the city of Sodom, and the angels came to let him know that Sodom was going to be destroyed. And the men of Sodom came to Lot and said, bring them out that we might know them. In other words, they wanted to have sex with the angels. That's the first time that gay, lib, whatever is mentioned. These people do not want to be recognized. They don't want anything but to be embraced. They want their lifestyle to become the lifestyle. They're no better than ISIS.
I thank you for the call. And, in the future, it's not just embracing. It's like, as I said earlier, it's forcing people to go along with it. It's forcing people against their will to participate. That's the frightening part. That's the very frightening part. You ask yourself, does God hear the cries of his people? You certainly hope so, because it's going to be a rough ride for this country in the near future. I was just reading Franklin Graham last week and some of the comments he made about the direction we happen to be going. And, he's not alone, yet he's very discredited by media. We've reached a point now where people like him, when they used to speak, everyone listened and media shared it. But media is now part of the grand master plan here that the other side has. And so media, there's so many stories. There's a story out today. Hillary Clinton was on a radio show in New York City the other day to promote her campaign for presidency. And she made a snide joke about carrying around hot sauce. It was a black radio show. Apparently this has something to do with blacks who use a lot of hot sauce on foods. And the hosts of the show were mortified that she said it. And I thought, how come this didn't make the New York Times? How come it didn't make election coverage on CNN or CBS or NBC or ABC? Why? Because they look out for her. But if Donald Trump had made a comment like that, exactly, what would be happening right now. He needs to say he's sorry, and he needs to drop out of the race, and he needs to go live under a rock, and he needs to give all of his money away. Yeah, because he's a racist bigot. Yeah. 9:56. A few minutes left in our program. You're up next. You're on the air on KLIX.
Good morning, Bill. I don't think that the American Indian, the Aborigines, or the people in the rainforest down there have any problems with people who don't know what sex they are because they won't live very long.
Yeah. And that's the way in a lot of cultures, isn't it?
That's true. It's only when you get to be so smart that you have these problems. Oh, to hang up.
Yeah, I would bet. Thank you for the call. I don't know that I've seen a lot of research on that. And probably you're not seeing any research on it because it may well back up this fellow's point that he just made. It does not exist in those cultures. It's an invention that comes along with so-called civilization. We're coming up on the end of the program today. I want to point out, God willing, if the creek don't rise, I'll be back here tomorrow morning between 8 and 10 o'clock. Doing a talk radio show every day you always expect could be your last. And so I I take that approach to it because as I remember the first full-time talk radio job I had, I've been doing talk radio shows since the middle of the 1990s, but it never really became my full-time vocation until 2003. And I remember working at a radio station and I'd get called into the office every day after the show. Every day, I kid not. And the general manager would be sitting there and he'd give me this look and then he'd say, I got a telephone call today. He's from Baton Rouge. Somebody heard your program and they didn't like it. I got to have people like you or they won't listen, as if somehow talk radio, is all about like, what's your favorite color? Mine's red. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm a Republican, though, and I wouldn't want to hurt your feelings if you thought I was. Do you like apples or do you like oranges? We've got Rush Limbaugh coming up in just a moment. Bill Colley with you this morning, saying thank you, and God willing, if the creek don't rise, I'll be back tomorrow morning between 8 and 10 o'clock. Leon Mills, scheduled to join us tomorrow. Of course, he's a longtime serving member of the county commissioners here in Twin Falls County and running for re-election. That's on the way tomorrow morning, as well as we'll wrap up the week. A lot to talk about, of course, before it's all over with. Limbaugh follows the news at 10 o'clock from Fox. Sean Hannity following the news at 1 o'clock today from Fox News Radio. And as well as after 4 o'clock today, Glenn Beck follows Fox. And Dave Ramsey tonight. Have a super, super day. And if you get a chance, get out there and enjoy some of the wonderful weather.